So, you are like me, and you like mushrooms. No, not those kinds of mushrooms. You just think they're cool and delicious, and you want to learn how to find them. You probably started by just going outside and foraging, but quickly realized that there are a lot, and you don't know what the hell you're looking at. So you go home and figure, I can learn anything on the internet, and start Googling away, hoping to learn enough to at least identify what type of mushroom you're looking at, and if it will kill you. Little did you know the endless rabbit hole you just fell headlong into. Googling what is a mushroom sounds simple enough until you realize that the definition of a mushroom is practically useless. So next, you might try Googling specific mushrooms and try to reverse search your way to find the definition you are looking for. So it can't be too complicated, right? I love these things, they're delicious. It's a basidiomycete. What does that mean? Basidiomycota, Asomycota, mirror yeasts. Huh? Yeast. So much yeast. Loosely named Asolichens. Lichens. Higher fungi. Higher fungi. Subkingdom Dicaria. Fungi. Dicaria. Animalia. Through this, you might see terms like Basidiomycota, Agarix, Asomycotina, yeast, and even greater fungi or higher fungi. Typing higher fungi into Google finally reveals your starting point, the subkingdom Dicaria. You heard me right, subkingdom. This is an absolutely massive group of organisms, including the two phyla, Basidiomycota and Asomycota, which contain almost all of what we call mushrooms. Now that wasn't so bad, was it? Well, it's not very useful to look at any mushroom and say, I know that one, it's in the subkingdom Dicaria. So what level of analysis is useful to a potential forager? Considering that edibility can vary depending on the species, which can sometimes only be determined by microscopic analysis, it must be higher than that. So how about we work our way down? What is under Dicaria? Basidiomycota and Asomycota, so let's start with them. The main difference between the two is how they produce spores. Reproduction in Dicaria is pretty complicated, so I won't go too far into how it works. Just know that Basidiomycota produce basidiospores and Asomycota produce asospores. In general, Basidiomycota contains rusts, smuts, and most generic mushrooms. Asomycota contains cup fungi, lichens, and neolecta because everyone has to have a thing. Learning how to recognize the difference may seem challenging, but it will get easier with experience. One trick is that Asomycota will almost never have gills, teeth, or macroscopic pores. Another thing to keep in mind is that Asomycota is referred to as sac fungi. This does not mean that mushrooms that look like sacs are under Asomycota, since sac fungi refers to their reproduction, not their morphology. At this point, I would encourage you to return outside, and instead of worrying about what species you're looking at, and whether or not it would taste good sauteed, simply identify it as either Basidiomycota or Asomycota. I promise you this is much more enjoyable. But your thirst for knowledge cannot be quenched, and now you have a taste of progress, so let's jump to the next step. The subphyla. Basidiomycota contains Pucciniomycotina, Ustaliginomycotina, and Agaricomycotina. Pucciniomycotina contain mostly parasitic rusts, Ustaliginomycotina contains mostly parasitic smuts, and Agaricomycotina contains coral fungi, jelly fungi, and agarix, or guild fungi. Agaricomycotina is the most important subphylum under Basidiomycota to foragers. Asomycota contains Pizizomycotina, Saccharomycotina, and Taphragnomycotina. Saccharomycotina is mostly yeast, and Taphragnomycotina only contain one genus of fungi with a fruiting body, so we can largely ignore them for now. Pizizomycotina contains most lichenized fungi, cup fungi, and earth tongues, and is the most important subphylum under Asomycota to foragers. I know you just took in a lot of information. I'm sure it was very scary, but I'm proud of you, and I'm here for you. Believe it or not, we have actually been able to narrow down our analysis by a large margin. We now know that there is only one kinda, subphylum for each phylum that we should know as foragers. Agaricomycotina under Basidiomycota, and Pizizomycotina under Assomycota. So, if you're ready, let's explore even deeper. Pizizomycotina is more simple, so we will start there. There are 4 relevant divisions under Pizizomycotina, one being a mystery division because science can't give you anything straight. The family Geoglossaceae contain the black earth tongues. Orbaliaceae contain saprobic predatory fungi with fruiting bodies that look like small jelly discs. Leotiomycetae is a rankless clade, probably, which used to be a superclass, and contains a whole bunch of stuff we don't care about, except for some more earth tongue lookalikes and jelly babies, which look more like fetuses, but whatever. Last but certainly not least, we have Pizizomycetes, which are characterized by their disc-shaped asocarp. This class contains morels and truffles, so it's basically the only useful class to know from Assomycota to foragers. Quick note, because I didn't know where else to put it, Neolecta is a genus of fruiting mushrooms from the subdivision Tephrinomycotina, and it may be confused for earth tongues in other divisions. Neolecta is discernible by its bright yellow or orange color. It's important to note because Neolecta is very distantly related to any of these other earth tongues. It's a very cool organism and is even considered a living fossil. So that's pretty cool. It's also edible, or at least some people say it's edible. But science doesn't even know what ecological role it plays or whether or not it's a yeast. So I wouldn't gamble on the whole edibility thing with that one. Agaricomycotina is much more complicated and contains many common mushrooms for foragers, so we will spend the majority of our time here. Tremellomycetes and Dacromycetes are the 2 minor orders of the 3. Tremellomycetes contain the jelly fungi, and Dacromycetes contain coral fungi and jelly fungi, both of which can be mistaken for mushrooms in the phylum Assomycota. Agaricomycetes is the last class we have to discuss, but there are 15 relevant orders, so hold on to your brain. Gliophylales contain tree-rotting mushrooms that look like classic toadstools or hard leathery shelf mushrooms. They produce a characteristic brown rot in their host tree. Sebacinales contain jelly-like mushrooms which form mycorrhizal relationships with many species of plants. They have a global distribution and have been considered for their use in ecological restoration. They also look like a dump site for someone's liposuction clinical practice. Hysterangiales contain some puffball-like and truffle-like mushrooms, but they are lesser known and I do not think they are edible. Auriculariales contain jelly-like and curticioid meaning that the basidiocarp does not have a set form and instead just roams out like a bad joke or an STD. Fungi, which most of the time do not have a stipe. They primarily grow on living or dead trees. Gumphales contain families of phallic-like fungus, chanterelle-like fungus, toadstools, and corals. These mushrooms are often foraged for in Mexico and are considered a delicacy. Tremolodendropsidales contain pale white coral fungi which only contain one genus. They are discernible only by microscopic analysis of their basidia, so good luck telling the difference. Polyporales contain most, but as we know not all, polypores, and certain curticioid fungi, although some families resemble agarics and jelly fungi. Most polypores are wood rotters, and some are used in traditional Chinese medicine, and you can make cool hats out of them. I mean, look at that, that's so freaking cool, it's a hat made out of a mushroom. Thelaephorales contain polypores, coral fungi, and toadstools, which are all ectomycorrhizal. The order has a worldwide distribution, with several species, such as Sarcodon imbricatus, considered delicacies. Hymenocatales are defined by molecular research and are not morphologically similar, so you would have to learn them on either the family or genus level. And Jesus, have fun with that! Phallales contain the stinkhorn mushrooms, and a family of puffball-like mushrooms. The family which the order is named after, Phallacea, is possibly the most recognizable group of fungi ever, often eliciting a "Oh my, what is that?" reaction. Russulales contain many toothed fungi, polypore fungi, coral fungi, and guild fungi. They are a lineage closely related to agarics and evolved similarly in many ways. Cantharellales contain toothed fungi, but are famous for their chanterelles, which are an expensive delicacy found around the world. Chanterelles are found primarily in leaf litter around trees and are ectomycorrhizal, as the entire order is believed to be. Gistrales contain the earth stars, mushrooms which resemble puffballs but with a distinctive star shape surrounding the basidiocarp. They are often found in woody mulch and are excellent at using water mechanics to keep their spores safe. Boletales contain agarics, puffballs, and boletes. Boletes look like regular toadstool mushrooms, but have a polypore basidiocarp instead of gills. Many different boletes are considered delicacies, but can be difficult to discern, so amateur foragers should be wary. Most of the order are mycorrhizal, although some are parasitic. Finally, we come to the order Agaricales, possibly the most well-known order of all mushrooms. Agaricales contain mostly agarics, but some families contain coral fungi, club fungi, and puffballs. Amanitaceae and Agaricaceae are some common families, but the entire order is common if you look closely enough. Agaricales fill almost every fungal niche there is, so they can be found in virtually every environment. If all you did was study this order, you would be an effective forager. This is the most specific point I have reached as an amateur forager, and I hope that this video helped you as much as making it helped me. I encourage all of you to continue your research by reading books, academic articles, and by going outside to look for what you study. There's no greater teacher than experience, so go get learned. As my good friend Peyton always says, you get what you bury. So go bury something.